This is not something that we didn't expect. There was reporting for months that the 54-year-old would be the target of a criminal investigation, and this comes after his homes in Los Angeles and Miami were raided back in March. He has been hit with numerous lawsuits alleging sexual assault, sex trafficking, illegal narcotics possession, gun possession. Now, to be clear, we didn't know what the charges would be. We guessed, because as Mark Agnifilio, his attorney, said to the press today and last night, they were anticipating racketeering and sex trafficking charges, and that is what we see in this grand jury indictment. It is 14 pages long. There are 3 counts, one that makes up the majority of this indictment. By the way, I will tell you, this is similar to what we saw with R. Kelly, who, as we know, was also indicted in federal court in New York. So racketeering, what we are talking about here, is a criminal enterprise. And a conspiracy to commit the racketeering statute is there's a criminal agreement, there's a number of overt acts, there's predicate crimes. Diddy is not necessarily being charged with on an individual basis, but they make up this criminal enterprise. In other words, there's evidence that will show this is a criminal enterprise. For decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, PD, Love, they always use his name throughout this, the different monikers. The defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Sean Combs is the only one who's actually listed in this indictment. He's the only named defendant. You have to wonder if anybody else will be cooperating with the government against him. Now, I have not seen the specific names of any other individuals, including the people who filed lawsuits against him.
After everything that the FBI has uncovered after the raids on Diddy's house, there's no saving the bad boy mogul. From trafficking to threatening people to stay quiet, what Diddy has done is the definition of evil. And no matter how hard he tries, he's not getting out of this mess anytime soon.
The indictment has now come down against Sean Diddy Combs, and there is absolutely no doubt prosecutors have thrown the book at him. He has been charged with racketeering, kidnapping, and sex trafficking. This is all based on a grand jury indictment where prosecutors went to the grand jury over a period of months. He's charged with prostitution, coercion, enticing to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The indictment mentions the now notorious freak-off parties, elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. Combs luring women into his orbit under the pretense of a romantic relationship, and then using force, threats of force, and coercion to cause these victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers.
And if you thought things couldn't get any worse than his lawsuit for Cassie, you better buckle up, because the amount of charges against Diddy are pretty much never ending. For years, he has been committing the ugliest crimes and using his fame and money to cover everything up.
1,000 bottles of baby oil and lube. Let's just get down to the bottom of it. Where do I begin? I shouldn't even be on here. I have a trial tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., but I love y'all. So we all heard about Diddy getting arrested this week, and y'all, they dropped the indictment. Fun fact, when you hear the term charge, think district attorney, state level. When you hear the term indictment, think of grand jury, the feds. And it is not looking good for him. You guys, Diddy is going to prison. And a few of them are my law school classmates, so their conviction rate is about 96%. And another thing we just know about federal prosecutors is they don't show up until they already got you. So let's say, for instance, there's a burglary and then the district attorney presses formal charges. Once the burglar has already been charged, that's when the DA gets to work. The feds watch you and watch you closer. They don't show up to arrest you until they have everything they need. And the feds are a very patient group of people. They will watch you for years and just gather and gather and gather. That's why the conviction rate is so high. They will sit on something forever until they have what they need.
Since this is a federal prosecution, chances are there is no way for Diddy to defend himself because the feds already have all the evidence they need to prove to everyone that he is a criminal of the highest degree.
At all relevant times in this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, sexual. As part of this pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. The person you see right there, Cassandra Ventura, remember, she filed a lawsuit against Combs back in November of 2023, settled the day after. She had talked about these freak-offs. She had talked about being forced to engage in these kind of perverted sexual activities at the behest of Sean Combs. So this is kind of making this up. You wonder if she's a cooperating witness here. Combs and others acting in his direction made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs' location. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same and using intimidation and violence. When we talk about sex trafficking, where you are forcing or coercing or threatening someone into commercial sex activities, or you're transporting them across state lines through coercion or different methods for illegal sexual activity.
It's extremely sick how Diddy has been manipulating and abusing women over the years, using their vulnerable positions to force them into dangerous situations. And if you think Cassie's case was bad, just imagine how many other women were influenced by Diddy's predatory behavior. And the worst part about all of this is that Diddy still seems to think that he's going to come out of this unscathed. After all, anytime he has gotten into trouble in the past, he has used his money to shut everyone right up. Even after all the evidence stacked up against him, he's maintaining his innocence.
Yesterday, Diddy was indicted on sex trafficking and racketeering. And thank God, get that sick man off of the streets. I think that we are about to see one of the largest takedowns in trafficking by somebody who thought that they were, just rich and powerful and could continue to get away with it. If you have not seen Sound of Freedom, it is a great movie. I know there's some weird stuff happening, like potential allegations against the guy who it's about. I'm not sure about all that. I can't speak on it. But what I will say is that movie has really stuck in my head. One of the things that they say at the end of the movie is that in the US, sex trafficking is the largest growing business. What we see in that movie is more what people would perceive traditional forms of trafficking, where a child is kidnapped, and it more focuses on this international lens. They're targeting kids in Central America, South America. But in reality, trafficking happens every day in our backyards, and it is not somebody grabbing a child, kidnapping them and saying, get in a van.
And while Diddy's lawyers are working overtime and trying to save him from spending a lifetime in jail, it's pretty evident that even a team of legal experts can't help him this time around. And the only one to blame is Diddy himself, for believing that he was invincible.
No bail. He's detained.
We're appealing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're appealing the decision to hold him without bail. Tomorrow at 3:30. 3:30, same place. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case.
Honestly, at this point, anyone who's taking Diddy's side is fighting a losing battle. Because once the feds make up their mind to bring someone to court, you know that they are going to come in armed. So no matter how much money Diddy spends now, he just can't be saved.
This is also eerily similar to the Rodney Little Rod Jones lawsuit. He was one of the first people to file a lawsuit, former producer of Sean Combs. He alleged violations of racketeering law. He was the one who made those allegations, and again, very consistent with what we are hearing here. And this is a group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. So you can have a criminal enterprise. It doesn't have to be Sean Combs Inc. They don't have to be incorporated. It can still be a criminal enterprise. The Combs enterprise consisted of the defendant entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and then they go through a number of different entities and people known and unknown. Combs Enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit for a common purpose. Combs Enterprise was engaged in, and its activities affected interstate and foreign commerce. It operated in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere.
The truth is that the amount of people who have come out against Diddy is evidence enough for just how disgusting the bad boy mogul has always been. Everyone who knows him agrees that his freak-off parties got extremely wild, and thanks to the federal raids on his homes, the entire world knows just how wild they really were. People are now once again going back to the footage of the 50-foot bed and endless sofas in Diddy's backyard. According to the indictment, this is where Diddy would host his freak-offs that went on for days. And by the end of it, the victims were so exhausted that they needed to receive IV fluids to recover from the drugs.
Rapper Sean Diddy Combs remains behind bars this morning while he awaits trial for his alleged sex crimes. Cheryl Cassoni with the details now. Cheryl.
Maria, this case continues to be fascinating. Sean Diddy Combs reportedly now has been placed on suicide watch after being denied bail in his sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Now, although his mental state is unclear, Combs is being held, we know, at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. His lawyer has said that he wants to see Diddy moved to a federal facility in New Jersey. He's been denied bail twice this week, coming as his former protege, Shine, says that his life was, quote, destroyed by Diddy after he was convicted of first-degree assault in a 1999 New York City nightclub shooting and then sentenced to 10 years in prison. Diddy was also accused in that shooting, but during the trial said he fired the gun in self-defense, and then he was acquitted on all charges. Combs' next court appearance is set for October 9th.
Considering all of this, it's a blessing that the singer has now been denied bail twice, and his case will now be going straight to trial, which is where his other dark secrets are bound to come out. Because the arrest is just the opening of the Pandora's box.
Everyone that was not my color believed me. It was my people that needed convincing. If someone like the Diddler is your hero, then you should hurry up and go to hell with him. If someone like Jay-Z is your hero, then, just be glad you're not talented so he could sacrifice you like he tried to do me, and he succeeded with Aaliyah. Stevie J should be charged. Mary J. Blige should also be charged. Jennifer Lopez should definitely be charged. Jay-Z should be charged. Khaled should be charged. Rick Ross should be charged. Usher should be charged and tried with him. Or for Justin Bieber alone.
Now, Carisha and Rick Ross just sat down together in an interview.
Yeah, I know. Two Diddy doo-wop ops. What a reunion.
But now that Diddy is behind bars for good, the spotlight is on everyone around him who kept covering for him all these years. It's safe to say that once the trial begins, all of Diddy's accomplices in his dirty crimes are also going to be in massive trouble with the law.